What is up, y'all? This is your boy, the liberal loudmouth, and as always, I'm here with
the real Ron.
Keep it together, Ron.
Tim, I remember that top 40 hit off of Casey Kasem's countdown, and I love that it is well. It is so well.
It is well. And there's some backstory with that video. If you're not aware, you feel free to send us a message and ask, because it's hilarious. I
would just like to give a shout out to Unwokable.
Yeah.
And say,
buddy,
I love you, man.
I know you're watching. You always do.
Yeah. And you're doing God's work down there in Southern Texas. I love you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Keep it in your pants, son.
Yeah. And try, try to keep your women a little closer, maybe. I don't know. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Feel bad for him. That was weird that he just kind of dropped off the face of the earth, like out of nowhere.
He's probably one of the most intelligent people that I've ever met, besides yourself and some others. But he did so much of his own research, and he knew so much. But he was a douche when he talked. You remember when we had him on the show? He just screamed into the mic, and we're like, "Hey, turn your shit down." And he's like,
exactly. No, it was hard to hear, like he was screaming so loud, and I even like turned his volume down, and he turned it up. So
yeah,
he's like, I can't hear myself screaming. I need to adjust my gain. Anyway, so we're cutting up at the beginning of this because of that video. And I mean, we've just been rolling since we decided to use that as a temporary intro. Because
but we are going to work on a new intro. But that I mean, if you don't know about that video, you should go to Tim's page, The Liberal Loudmouth. I believe it's on his YouTube.
It might be. I can't remember where I put it. But no, it's like Andy Kaufman used to do jokes that other people may not get, but him and his friends thought were hilarious, and they got them. So that's forgive us. But no, today we're going to talk a little bit about Justin Humphrey and the impending civil war, which should be interesting to say the least. We got a lot of crazy things going on. So as far as Humphrey goes, we are scheduled to have him on the show tomorrow at noon. So if you haven't signed up for the event, go to the Loudmouth's page and click the going button. And I haven't heard from him in a couple of days, but he's kind of busy, so he should be here.
They're all probably, but I think I call him JJ, but Justin probably he's one of those guys. He's not going to back down from something that he committed to. So I expect for him to show up. And I've had so many people reach out to me wanting to hear from him. So I do hope that he does show up, because he sits on the committee for the DOC, Department of Corrections. He's got these controversial bills coming out that needs to be explained, which he's got a lot of backing for. So I think it'd be prudent of him to show up, if just to talk about.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, he does other things, he is an advocate for people, and there's a lot of great things about Humphrey, and we'll talk about all those tomorrow. If he wants to get into that, but today, what do you think of the Civil War stuff that's going on, man? What do you think about that?
When's the deadline's today, right?
Yeah, supposedly. And I've been checking Twitter all day to see when the federal agents start shooting at Texans. I mean,
well, here's the thing. I thought it would be like in the southeast portion of the United States that would every year somebody tries to secede, or somebody does some dumb shit, tries to secede. But it makes sense that Texans would do it first, because you don't mess with Texas.
Yeah, they're like their own little, I don't know, thing out there. It's a whole new world out there. It's like Aladdin all over the place. But what I did,
Texas is the only state that flies the Texas flag equal to the American flag. You knew that, right?
Nope, I didn't know that.
Every other state flies the state flag underneath the United States flag, but Texas will not.
which is kind of interesting because they also at the same time scream that they're patriotic and USA, and then, but at the same time they hold themselves up to be equal to the U.S., like they're somehow better than the U.S. Well, right. I got news for you. If you ever seceded, it wouldn't go as you thought it would. I mean, I'm sure Mexico
they tried to do the independent thing years ago, and I think they went broke.
Yeah, I mean, the federal government gives Texas like $68 billion a year in, essentially funds, welfare, if you will. So that's a lot of money. I mean, you cut that off, that's a big amount of money, and the U.S. could sanction their exports, could not trade with them, and they'd have to work it out with Mexico and other countries. So, good luck, I guess. If you think you can make it on your own. Too.
Let me give you all a little bit of context, because this is actually a topic that Tim and I have disagreed on in the past, because immigration is always a big topic when Republicans aren't in office, if that makes sense. Yeah. Every single year in our history, there's been an immigration problem, and not necessarily a problem, but an issue with too many people coming across the border. But when Democrats are in office, Republicans will staunchly say, well, it's the Democrats' problem. They're open borders. I don't want open borders. I don't think anybody wants open borders, but they want to allow people to come in legally. So right. I agree with Texas and Arizona and all those border states wanting to shut down ports of entry, but not with razor wire at the cost of human life.
Well, the razor wire they're putting up is between those ports of entry, and it caused, because at one point they had those floating barriers that they put in the middle of the river, which was causing people to die. I mean, I had read this deal up and down the Texas border. They found like almost 1,000 dead people that had been trying to cross. So it's not that it's not dangerous, and then adding barriers like that and razor wire and stuff, it makes it even worse. But I put constitutional crisis in the title because really that's kind of what this is boiling down to, and it is a very complex and weird issue where both have some jurisdiction over that area, whereas Texas has jurisdiction over the land and the federal government has jurisdiction over the border. But they also have jurisdiction over like 25 miles, I think, from the border. They're able to go in and do what they're supposed to do. And if you aren't aware of what's going on, Texas had put up this razor wire, in the water and also, on the bank of the river. And people trying to cross now, once you get to the United States, you're automatically given constitutional rights as a human. Those constitutional rights aren't just if you're an American citizen. It's also if you're just here. So they have due process rights. So in order to do that, Border Patrol agents have to apprehend and arrest these people. And how can they do that when there's razor wire? So they would cut the wire. And Texas, of course, was like, that's our property, and it's like, well, this is our border because we're the federal government and we deal with federal borders. So, Texas sued them.
So what do you think the outcome? Do you think Texas is going to say, I think Texas will concede and allow the federal agents to come in?
Man, I don't know if that will happen. I think the best thing that can happen, and hopefully Biden is politic enough to give a little to get, and that they're both going to have to make some concessions, but they'll both have to walk away with wins. What that looks like at this point, I don't know. And are either of them willing to do it? I mean, that's anybody's guess at this point. Abbott seems hell-bent on it. And, now he got, 25 other states or 24 other states that have joined them. And even like Oklahoma, I believe, is sending National Guard troops.
Yeah, but they always have the 24 or 25 Republican governors that sides with Abbott. And right. I don't know that that's a bad thing. They need to come, but like you were saying, they need to come to some compromise with some give and some get and figure this out instead of just going full blown civil war. Our guns are bigger than yours guns, and because they're not.
Right. And there's another issue, and I'm going to pull it up real quick. If you want to keep talking, I'm gonna pull something up real quick.
And if y'all haven't already go to the Loudmouths Facebook page, YouTube page, whatever. Subscribe to us. It doesn't cost any money, but we're going to do a show tomorrow with JJ Humphrey, state. He's a representative, correct, Tim? District 19, or is it senator? He represents District 19. We're going to do a show with him tomorrow. With him at noon. Can't wait for this. This should be wonderful, and a lot of people are going to tune in and watch this to see what JJ's new bill about the furries. He thinks people are shitting in cat litter boxes and wearing cat costumes to school and shit like that. But and he may have proof. I hope he does have proof, because if he does, then I'm going to be full bore on. I'm going to sign off. So
yeah, I mean, but that's also such a rare, even if it did happen, like, I'm pretty sure the kid would get in trouble for it. I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have been a school that was allowing it. I would hope not. Like, but schools have proven me wrong in the past.
Yeah.
So, I guess you can't trust them as far as you can throw them, but yeah, it should be an interesting conversation tomorrow.
I'll tell you this. Tim, I think Tim's one of the very few parents that I've ever heard of that has been banned from any public school event. Like if a Wasso had went and played Broken Arrow at Broken Arrow, Tim couldn't have went to that ball game. And he was banned because he spoke out against pornography. And he has been called everything except a decent human being, because he actually got the policy changed in Owasso to where every single graphic novel that comes in has to be looked at and read through before it goes on the shelf. I don't think there's another policy, maybe in the United States, let alone Oklahoma, that says that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. And yeah, I actually pointed this out to Libs of TikTok because, Ryan Walters had appointed her to this advisory council. And I'm like, look, all you do is post things to your platform, and it's a huge platform, and it gets people riled up, which is a good thing. But I don't know how that translates to being able to be helpful in Oklahoma on an advisory committee. Maybe it is, but.
Well, let's get back on subject real quick. The Libs of TikTok lady. The problem I have with that is the only reason that I think that he appointed her was because she was from Libs of TikTok and had that platform. She is out of New York. Brooklyn, New York is where she's from. And she's on a committee here in Oklahoma to determine our library accreditation or whatever she's doing. And we have parents like Tim and other parents that are very capable of doing the same thing that live here in Oklahoma. So I have a huge problem with that.
Right. It is weird, because otherwise that committee, I believe, is impaneled by parents in the state. Just there's no cost of admission or requirements of doing the job other than having a brain and being able to formulate thoughts. So it is weird. If Oklahoma's going to change, maybe we should use Oklahomans and not people from out of state. But I mean, that's just me. But anyway, back to the border thing. So I want to play this video for everybody. I got to pull it up on the screen here. So give me just a
What's
second.
up, Lane Brown?
And yeah, what's up, Lane? I decided to use the video instead of an article because I don't want anybody to say, oh, they're biased, they're lying. I want you to listen to what Mitt Romney says here real quick. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
You can hear it? Okay. Yeah, let's listen to what Mitt Romney says about Trump here.
It was hard for me to see what Leader McConnell was suggesting. He seemed to be of two minds in the conversation. But reading the reports this morning and the fact that he hasn't corrected them suggests that he is inclined to listen to what former President Trump wants. And former President Trump has indicated to senators that he does not want to solve the problem at the border. He wants to lay the blame for the border at Biden. And the idea that someone running for president would say, please hurt the country so I can blame my opponent and help my politics is a shocking development.
Do you think and he is not the only one that has brought this to people's attention, that Trump had gone to all these Republicans and said, do not pass that funding bill, because they're asking for, like, I don't know, it's over $7 billion.
What is in the bill that they're having a problem? Because here, this thing with Lankford and Schumer, I've been getting so many people messaging me saying, Lankford's got to go. He's got to get out of there. Lankford's got to go. He's a rhino. He's a rhino. What is it about the bill that is there? What is it?
Now, I don't know the specifics of their bill, but what he's talking about is Trump told them in general terms, not specific to one bill. And this comes from multiple senators and even representatives, that Trump told them not to pass a funding bill with them because he wanted to be the one to fix it. He said, don't worry, I'll fix it later when I become president. That's what he said. So I don't know what specifically in Lankford's bill and Schumer's bill, but like we just said, the solution to this Texas constitutional crisis here is give and take. That's what politics are all about, right? You don't always get everything that you want, and that's okay. That's the way we set up our country to be that way. So
that's the very definition of politics. Yeah.
Right. That's literally their job, is to go in there and work with other people who differ on things and come to some kind of consensus and agreement to do something. So I think maybe part of it is going to be Ukraine funding. It might be funding for Israel, something like that, that they're putting all in the same package. And part of that is this Border Patrol funding, which Democrats also are okay with. And in fact, there was a vote it was for over $7 billion. I believe it was a standalone border bill that Republicans voted against. Almost all Republicans and almost all Democrats voted for it.
No,
the problem,
I can't. No,
they had the picture of it up. This was back in 2023.
No way. A standalone border bill?
I think it was. I'm not 100%, but I think that it was. Let's see here.
That would really surprise me.
Right here. Okay. Let me pull this up. Let me present this share screen. Now, this may be a little biased here because this is coming from the House. But Democrats are focusing on investing in border staffing, infrastructure. Republicans voted against necessary funding, opposing $7.2 billion for Border Patrol operations, including hiring $65 million for 300 more Border Patrol agents. Now, I don't know if that bill was a standalone. I tried to find it earlier, but I couldn't find which bill it was exactly. But there is a screenshot of a C-SPAN video where, you know, how they show the podium and then they show the votes, you know, overlaid on the video. And it said Border Patrol funding. And then it showed the votes underneath it. And it was all the Republicans that voted against it. So this may have been about the time that Trump started telling them to not vote for it, you know, and I don't know that that's causing this problem here, but it speaks to a practice of let's put politics before everything. It kind of turns it into theater a little bit, using this migration crisis that we clearly are having.
Right, but we have it every single year. But we had talked about this earlier, and maybe we do need to start recording our conversations. But I asked you, I was like, if the Texas National Guard, if they were nationalized and told to stand down and let people in, would they have to legally, or could they be prosecuted if they didn't? And your answer was,
well, so that question is a little different, I think, than what you had asked. Well, I think we were talking about the federalization of the National Guard in Texas, and I said that I doubt a lot of them are going to go with that plan. Like I don't think they're going to allow themselves to take part in the federal government's federalization of them. Of course, that comes with its own ramifications and consequences in doing so. So I mean, we'll see.
I guess my question was, is the Texas National Guard federal guard, or are they Texas's National Guard?
It's Texas's National Guard, but the federal government has the authority to federalize them in order to squash an uprising or to, maintain operations in certain things. And I think this was born from, like we were talking about before, when that armory had been overrun by I guess you could call them rednecks or whatever, the rebellion.
Yeah, Shays Rebellion. Yeah.
I think it was Shays, but it could have been another one because they had several back at that time, but they literally took over that armory with guns and weapons and stuff and held it for some time in the federal government.
Bring up Lane's comment real quick, because I want to speak to this.
Texas needs to stand strong.
When you say that, who do they need to stand strong against?
Right. I mean, I think that's a fair point, because if you are pro USA, then you're pro keeping the country together. And that, that's what they tried to do before the Civil War, obviously. And, things didn't pan out. And we saw how that worked out for the country. It wasn't good.
Right. It was
the federal government. So stand against the federal government. I mean, that is treason.
Yeah. We're a nation.
I mean,
right. And I agree. The borders need to be this is where Tim and I disagree. I think that you should just shut the border down and, fucking hair.
Well, I don't think you and I disagree on that.
Shut the border down, keep the drug, but you're never going to keep the drugs and the real problems from. They've been doing that for centuries, coming across with shit like that. But shut it down. Give people legal ways to get into the government or into the nation. But when you start talking about going against the United States of America, you lose me, because that's what makes us the greatest nation on earth.
As a nation, I mean, we're not a bunch of, we're United States. And then when you stop being united, you're no longer the United States. You're just the states. And, I mean, I understand the feeling behind it, but what we're arguing over is the federal government's authority to patrol and deal with federal border issues, as well as immigration, which has always been a federal authority. It's always been that way. So it's not like this is like some new thing that they're doing. The difference was that Texas was putting up razor wire to stem the flow of these migrants, but in doing so, they were causing a bigger problem, because if you're like, well, let's just put razor wire down there so they just can't get across here. Well, they could die in the river, and I believe that would be, internationally criminal, based on agreements that we've made, internationally, that we won't participate in this kind of thing, because a lot of these people are seeking asylum. But then once they get here, if you're like, well, to hell with them, if they're on the soil, you just send them back. Well, by that time, they're on the soil and they have constitutional rights. So then you'd have to argue that, just because you're here doesn't mean you have constitutional rights if you're these kind of people. That is another slippery slope, because then,
So let me ask you this, Tim. Why are people willing to die and cross a border in a river illegally instead of going to a legal point of entry and requesting amnesty or whatever? Why don't they go the right route?
I think the reason they do that is because they know our laws force our federal agents to process them. and get them in front of a judge so that they can plead their case. Whereas if they stay in their country, and there aren't as many avenues anymore as there used to be for them to plead their case before they get here, right? And there's so many of them that they can't process them all. That's one of the problems, is that, you see all these people going across. They don't have enough Border Patrol agents to deal with that. You got to look at Texas's border. It's like 1,200 and some miles.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of land to cover with, 6,000 ICE agents or whatever that they have. So they ask for more money so they can hire more people, have more equipment. And instead of like working with them, Texas decided that they're just going to install these razor wires and create problems. So then when the federal agents who are, they have their own job and their own role, and they have to arrest these people. That's their job. Once they get over there, they have to arrest and process them. Some of them get deported immediately, depending on, what they've decided they're there for, and others go into processing facilities and they wait for their day in court. I mean, but again, people don't realize it. We had more unapprehended migrants in 2000 than we actually do today. So it's like we were talking about just a minute ago. This isn't a new thing.
I've talked to people that have been in the military in San Antonio, around the border, Eagle Pass, Brownsville. This happens every single year. There's a big migration, especially during the springtime.
All of our lives.
Matter what, it doesn't matter who the president is. People want to come to America, and I understand that. I love America, but they're making it out to be a political thing, like a Republican could stop this.
Right. And
it's just not true. It's not true.
Right. And there's a video. I've actually been scrolling Twitter. I saw it earlier, and I wanted to show just how bad it may be on another. So basically the video is of one of the walls, the border wall. And it's a guy standing on top with binoculars and a rope. And they've cut the razor wire that's on the other side of that fence. And they are dropping those people over the other side into the United States. And then the lady who, the reporter, she said, and we looked around, there wasn't a border agent in sight. And I'm like, well, of course there isn't a border agent in sight, because you put up a fucking wall, and then those border agents are going to go to a place where there isn't a wall. Why would they spend all of their time when they are already hurting for resources? Why would they spend their time where a wall was already built? There, it is a problem, and I think they're doing what they can. I actually saw this conspiracy today. They think that Joe Biden is purposely allowing the illegals into the country, which isn't true anyway, but he's purposely allowing them into the country so that he can conscript them into the military and then attack Texas. That's the conspiracy.
Christ. No.
Yeah, they were like, back during the Civil War, the North brought in all of these immigrants, and they used them to fight them in the Civil War. And I'm
that's
like,
Alan Miracle, David Oldham fucking conspiracy shit there. That's
right. And Lane says, arrest me, arrest them. I'm tired of letting illegals in the U.S. When I was younger, I got irritated whenever I would walk into a McDonald's and the people would speak to me in Spanish, the workers. And I'm like, this is fucking America. We speak English around here. Why do I have to get an interpreter for when I go into a business, but as the years wore on and I started realizing how shitty life could be, the struggle that you deal with as you go along. And then I think about the shit that those people have to deal with. I would probably want to take my family somewhere fucking else too, because they're dealing with hotels that have overrun their government, that overrun their country, that kill them, I mean, they'll shoot them in the streets. So, they're running.
I'll play devil's advocate here. Then you get into America has to take care of the world, right? It's white man's burden. It's we have to police the world. I said it, white man's burden. It becomes socialism at a point to where we're taking everybody's problems on our shoulders. And I'm okay with that. I want to help people out as much as I can. I don't want to take care of people, but if you need help, I'll help you out. But gosh, it's not Mexico. Why don't they stay in Mexico? Because these people aren't coming
because
from Mexico.
They're not right. They're not Mexicans, and I don't know why they aren't staying in Mexico. I honestly don't know. I'm sure a lot of them do. I'm sure a lot the people, because they start in these caravans from Central America and work their way up.
Right.
So I'm sure a lot of them stop along the way and filter out. But I certainly, whenever they leave, their idea is to get to America because it's so good here. I mean, I sometimes even I forget how good I have it. Even when I didn't have money, I still had a roof over my head, food. I could go to a grocery store and buy food. I mean, these people don't even have that in some instances. A lot of these countries are, it's like subsistence farming where you farm for the food that you're going to eat, and you don't really have grocery stores. You don't have electricity. Still using outhouses. They don't even have tractors in some cases for their farms. They're still using ox and plows and shit. So, life, I mean, when you see that, it's hard to stay away from it. So I don't know. It's not our responsibility to take care of them, but we do have it so well that it's some level. If I can take care of somebody, I have the means to do it. I feel compelled to help somebody out. You know what I mean?
I do too. If I have $1, I'll split it with you. We'll go enjoy an RC Cola. But some people don't. You hear about these people like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and these billionaires. They could release that money now and take care of a lot of people that need help, but they're going to do it when they die.
Yeah, or they'll just send it off to their, the next generation of their family to further increase that wealth. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money that we have in this country that people are hoarding, that these billionaires hoard. Or they buy things that benefit themselves, like Rockefeller and Carnegie, even whenever they died, what they ended up doing was still selfish because it was about leaving a legacy of their name rather than doing it instead of doing it for the purposes of just doing the right thing. They were like, well, now we're going to compete with each other to see who can be the most philanthropic, but I mean, that's fine and all, but God, it's crazy. But like the migrants, they're painting Joe Biden out as if he is just wide open, and the federal agents are like, come on, let's go, come on. And that's what a lot of people are thinking, and that's just not true. That's what
I thought.
Yeah, percentage wise, Biden has actually deported more people that have come over here than Trump did, and he has processed more percentage wise than Trump did. So it's not like he's not doing anything. It's just that there's so many of them coming over now. It's become a strain on them, and they need more money.
Well, here's my because you said this to me earlier, and I researched it because I don't take your word for anything. I do my own research too, but you told me that earlier and I researched it, and you're absolutely correct. But the problem is that there's more coming now, and I wonder whose fault that is. If it's the Central American cartels' fault, if it's the American government, the Republicans and Democrats screaming, the border's open, the border's open.
Right. Which, I don't know if that would cause somebody to come over here, but I imagine that it didn't help. because they may not speak English, but they see borders open in the subtitles in the, watching a show or whatever, and they're, oh my God, the border's open. But what I do know is that Trump in 2019 cut the funding to those countries like Honduras and Guatemala and I can't remember the third one.
Colombia.
No, because I think he had already cut the funding off for them prior to that due to other reasons. But
maybe, yeah.
But anyways, it's those countries where these people are coming from. So we had been giving them aid to get their government to help fight back with the cartels, and he cut the funding off. And then the next year is when they started flooding in, because it was at the very end of he was still in office when it started surging, and then it just kept going up. As soon as Biden took office, it was, they were flooding through. But I blaming Biden for the number of migrants that come over, is that weird? Because I don't blame Trump for the millions that came over under his watch. That was more than the previous year. I didn't blame him for that.
And when I did my research, Obama actually deported more people than Bush and Obama and Clinton deported more migrants than Bush did.
Right. Yeah. If you go by the numbers, the best border security president was Obama, which you're never going to hear that on Fox. That's for sure.
No,
never. But that's why I say a lot of this is political theater, but this theater is starting to have, possibly real life consequences that are going to kill a lot of people. Because people have this notion in their heads that it's like, oh, I'm going to fight the man. I'm going to, defeat the man. We're going to have the Civil War. We're going to take our country back. But they don't understand the ramifications of that. I mean, imagine you go out in the middle of town and there's no lights on. Maybe a couple of houses, but you can hear the generators running. There's no electricity. They're running water. Maybe it shuts off at some point. This is what Civil War is going to look like. And you can't even go anywhere really, because all the people that were supposed to be running the electric plants, now they're trying to save their families. So electric plants are shut down. The gas plants are shut down. The grocery stores aren't being stocked anymore because all those truckers there, we're going to stand with Texas and we're going to fight against the federal government. So they're not running anymore, or the stuff that they're running is logistics for the military in Texas. So now where do you get your food? Right. I mean, this is shit that could happen in the United States. And
so let me ask you this. If it was a legitimate, like the government was coming in like a Red Dawn type thing, and you got no TV, we're going to tell you how much you can use in electricity every day, you would then stand up and no, I'm going to fight for the nation and for my state or whatever. Correct?
Right. It's for our people. But but in the way I'm looking at that situation, it seems like a petty issue because it's something that has always been an issue.
Right.
It's not this new, the government didn't just pass some new law that said, you can only listen to this kind of shit. If the government starts passing things like one of the Nathan Dahm bill that says all reporters have to register with the state and have to take drug tests and has to be approved by the state. When you start seeing shit like that, that's a problem. Because then the government
that's the issue. That's the real fucking issue. When you want to take away First Amendment rights, you want to take away the freedoms to do what you want to do in your own house, like watch porn or whatever. If you want to wear a tail around your house, that's when you need to be standing up. This has been a century since the beginning of the United States. We are a nation of immigrants. We are.
Right.
The land of the free, right?
Right. And it's a dumb thing to try and cause a split in the country over. It's just a stupid reason. I just, because while this is happening and while they're fighting and bickering and doing all this shit, the corporations are still gobbling up all of their competition.
Oh yeah, it's fucking gross. It's gross.
The corporations are still buying all the fucking single family homes and driving up the cost of housing so that you can't fucking buy a house. And then now you have to rent from some corporate fucking slumlord that doesn't even exist. And you just have to, well, if your toilet breaks, well, you're going to have to file a report and then we'll maybe get back to you in a week. That's the kind of shit that people should be worried about because it's still going on while we bicker about dumb shit like immigration that's always been an issue. And
always been an issue. That's the main point I want to say is go do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Tim's word for it. Look at the numbers. It has always been an issue.
Yep. And
even with Staten Island,
it ebbs and flows. It'll in the year 2000, I think, was one of the worst immigration years at the border that we've ever had. And as a result, the Border Patrol grew because back then they still didn't have enough people to deal with it. So they got more people. And then now, we need to do more.
Well, back in the early 1900s, didn't they put like a moratorium on immigration because there were so many Irish people coming over because of the potato fathom and all that kind of stuff?
I don't know about specifically, but I mean, we've, done things like that in the past, I'm sure. Or, for example, the Chinese people that we brought over here to build the railroads, we didn't care about that stuff then. Bringing black people over as slaves and selling them off like cattle, did we care about that? I mean, and then now you got, it's the browning of America. I don't know. Yes, it's a problem. Yes, it needs to be dealt with, and Congress needs to deal with it. Did you know that the Supreme Court has kind of browbeat agents from states? I think Texas specifically in the past, because they're like, this is an issue for Congress. They don't have enough money. They're doing what they can with what they have, and if you want to help, you're going to pass laws in Congress to fix all this shit.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's really what they have to do. But Congress is so gridlocked because it's us versus them. It's Republicans versus Democrats. And, like that shit with Mitt Romney. How gross is that? For somebody running for president to say, don't fix this. Please don't fix it. Please.
This is what I say to my Republican counterparts, that when they come at me, they're like, why are you so liberal in your thinking? I'm like, I'm not liberal in my thinking. I just understand that it can't be all one fucking way.
Right.
We can't just get rid of the other people, because then we're going to have different people in the same party that differ. You have to have the balance of people. That's what democracy is to me. You can't just say, if you don't agree with me, I'm going to kill you.
Right, because if only one ideology gets their way, that's authoritarianism.
Right.
That's authoritarianism. And if you have everybody in a boardroom and they're just always agreeing with each other, shit's going to get fucked up, because there's going to be some bad ideas. Because I can't tell you how many times in life I have thought for sure that I was right about something, and then turned out I was wrong about it.
Oh, so many times in my life. Yeah.
And that's everybody deals with that. Even the people in Congress, whether they're Republican or Democrat. So just because somebody is saying something that you in that moment don't agree with doesn't mean that it's wrong. And that's why it's best to come to some sort of agreement so you can fucking figure it out. Because otherwise it's just one ideology that's running everything. I mean, hell, look at Oklahoma. We got bills that I'm afraid may actually gain traction, like the Nathan Dawn bill. Like, what the hell is that?
I believe it will. He
has the anti-porn.
The anti-porn. And I made a video the other day, and I said I watch porn, and I'm not ashamed to say I watch porn. I think most people probably watch porn at some point in their life. Maybe they don't. Maybe I'm just a deviant. I don't give a shit. Whatever. But if I want to watch porn, I'm an American. I believe that I should be able to watch porn. I'm an adult man.
Right.
As long as I'm not watching kiddie porn, stay out of my fucking business.
Right. Yeah. And if you want to, that's, did we cover that in our last video, the anti-porn bill?
Yeah. No, you did a video on and y'all need to go watch this video about Dusty Deaver's porn bill.
Oh my God.
Where's it at? On the liberal loudmouth?
Yeah. Dusty Beavers eating them beavers. Dusty Beavers. I mean, his name, it sounds like a porn name.
It does. It sounds like Dirk Diggler's son. And Tim did a really great video, and share the link in the comments so that people can see it. It's not a very long video, but it's a great video because in this bill, this anti-porn bill, unless you're married, you can't send a dick pic. I guess I can say dick pic, or you can't send a woman's breast to somebody you're not married to, or you're going to be in violation of this law. Am I mistaken?
No. As long as you're married, and then, but if you don't want to be married anymore, we're going to shame one of you.
Yeah, we're going to send your kids to school and tell them that their parents, one of their parents was
at fault divorce.
And
damn. Well, and like you had said, good on him for doing what he said he was going to do.
I'm telling you, Comanche County, Lawton voters down there in District 30, whatever it is, 34, 35, y'all voted for this bitch. I mean, good on y'all. Y'all made your bed, lay in it, I guess.
I don't know. But and things like that, I think, are more of a detriment to the country than, a bunch of people coming across the border and having to be processed.
And the deal is with these bills like the anti-porn bill and the 10 Commandments bill, if the Senate and the House vote against these bills, well, then they're anti-Christian and they're for child porn. So they have to vote yes.
Right. Yeah. Coupling it with the child porn thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they can run those headlines. Oh my God. So-and-so voted for child porn.
Right. And God, that's just gross. It's really been upset. I know that I've told you this over the last couple of days. It's really getting to me mentally, the way that they're manipulating these bills to where they're forcing people to vote for them, because if they don't get reelected because they're for child porn.
Yeah. Now, and see, this can be useful politically. Great example is Ukraine. Democrats want money for Ukraine. Both parties want money for Israel. And Republicans Democrats too, want money for Border Patrol. So they package them all together as like a give and take. We'll give you this if you give us that. I don't see anything wrong with that. But in this case, the child porn thing,
don't either.
That's a political ploy to, shame someone into voting for something like the Patriot Act. One of the worst fucking bills this country has ever seen.
It was the worst.
How do you vote against the Patriot Act?
I supported the Patriot Act. I think everybody supported the Patriot Act when it came out because 9/11 had just happened. Of course, you're going to support the Patriot Act.
I'm a patriot. Yeah. And
we're going to violate everybody's. We're going to violate everybody's rights and just spy on everybody and just no. That was such a bad dude, man. That was such
Yeah, because it allowed the government to do a lot of things that it never had been able to do before. And now that is an issue, I think, that is a greater problem because they don't just outright take your rights just en masse. They chip away at them over time. So you won't even realize by the time that you aren't able to do this and that and this whatever else, it's too late because you already lost all of these things a little bit over time, because they'll say, oh, we're doing it for children, like the gaggle stuff at school. What the fuck? You're spying on people in their own homes, in their own personal computers, using their own personal internet, and you're spying on them. The government is. And nobody seems to care because it's for the kids.
Right.
And people don't pay attention to that. That doesn't bother them. But when they see something visually, like at the border, all these brown people and they look scary and mean coming across, they're oh my God, it's an invasion. I love how they call it an invasion, right? They're acting like we're under attack, and I'm like, well, then if it's an invasion, why hasn't your military started opening fire on them if they're the enemy and need to be killed. Right? If you were being attacked, wouldn't you kill the people that were attacking you?
Right.
No,
I do agree that we need to figure out the immigration thing, but I don't know that there's a solution to that.
What we're doing works, but now we have to do more of it because there's more people. That's it. We're at the same position we were in the year 2000, where nothing had changed except for the number of people that were coming across. So then you had to beef up the number of Border Patrol agents that you had and the number of, equipment that they had and had access to, so that you could monitor more. And it worked. I mean, it brought the numbers down and they stayed down, although, there's always illegal immigrants coming across. But then all of a sudden, you start getting a lot more, and now you need more Border Patrol agents again. There's more people on Earth now.
Right, and people are concentrated on the southern border, but some would be really well read if they went and researched how many people come across from Canada as well.
And the fucking coastlines. These people will run dinghies up the California coastline, and there are videos out there. You can watch them. I guess they'll take it from the Mexico shore and ride it up to the California shore and just park the boat, leave it, and walk up. And just
you're on American soil. You're good.
Right. And so, I mean, like, you're not going to be able to catch them all. But if you notice, like Arizona, New Mexico, and California, they have a border with Mexico. But Texas is the only one that is just pitching this absolute horror fit.
Well, that's because Texas has got like 2 times the border that.
Well, Arizona, sure, but they still are crossing in Arizona and New Mexico too. But they process them. In 2000, I think it was 2021, 90% is the numbers that they had. Now it's down to 60% this year. 90% they had apprehended. That's a lot. So maybe there's a good way to funnel them so that they have to come through and get processed. And the ones that want to be funneled, and processed, they'll go through that way.
And here's the thing. These representatives and senators, they'll go to the border to check it out, but they're protected the whole time. I mean, we have a mutual friend, great friend, that went down to the border, took some video, took some pictures, was escorted by Border Patrol around the points of entry, and he was sold.
Right.
But I guess what I'm saying is that was make-believe. That wasn't really, it was a show to further a political point, maybe.
They took them to exactly the points that they wanted them to see.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's, and
I'm sure that stuff happened.
There's a lot of people coming across the border. Nobody is arguing that. That's not what we're saying, but it requires an act of Congress to fix. And that's not, razor wire is fixed with wire cutters. You telling me that the people that are coming across, if they really wanted to get through razor wire, they wouldn't be able to cut their way across? I mean, they had a dude with binoculars that climbed up on a ladder, picked these people up, dropped them off the other side. I mean,
and you're talking about women and children too. I don't have a problem necessarily with women and children coming across. These dudes, these bad men, the cartel, the drug dealers, the rapists, the murderers, keep the dudes out. But let every woman and child that comes across come across.
Yeah, of course. Then they call those anchor babies. You ever heard that term?
Anchor babies. Yeah.
Where they
that was Donald Trump's. That was Donald Trump's term.
Well, that term has been used for a while, but yeah, because they'd come across, have a baby, and then now their baby is an American citizen, and I think Trump wanted to put an end to that. I think a lot of Republicans did, but I mean I can understand both sides to that. Like, you know, if your sole purpose is to drop a kid on American soil, I mean, that's, you know,
yeah,
I mean, kind of weird. It's kind of weird, but either way, I mean, we're coming up on an hour. Do you think this is going to escalate, or do you think they'll find a solution and come to terms a little bit? What do you think?
I'm going to say this. It's an election year. If it wasn't an election year, I don't even think we'd be having this conversation.
Right.
So it's probably going to escalate.
Yeah, it might. I just hope that Biden is old and decrepit enough to come across not so aggressive, because Texans are, I mean, they're ready for a fight. Clearly, I mean, those people are lined up on the streets and they're ready to go.
Here's what I worry about with Biden is he is old and decrepit, so he may not give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, he may not. One can only hope. You know, what can you do? Just sit back and watch the train wreck unfold. I mean, all over razor wire and jurisdiction. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Has JJ or Justin reached out to you yet?
No, I mean, I had checked my email before we came on, and I hadn't seen anything and nothing yet. So, yeah, we'll see. But we've had another guest that did that last minute and ended up showing up, you know, when we sent the link. So, you know, fingers crossed. But
tomorrow at noon, right?
Yeah, it'll be good. He does a lot of good. He does, and I'd like people to see what he's doing, because some of the things he does is very important, and more people need to jump on board with it. I'm not going to disclose that because you'll need to show up and watch it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow at 12. All right, you got anything else?
I don't, sir.
All right, well, everybody, keep your eyes open for Texas. Hopefully the Civil War doesn't start before tomorrow, because I want to keep my show going. And, you know, I have to be out there with my pew-pews.
Yeah, what kind of flags are we going to fly if the Civil War starts?
Man, that
right here behind me,
the turd emoji.
Yeah,
make a flag with the turd emoji. Yeah, that's pretty much what that'll be.
Yeah,
maybe we'll fly that. Anyway, all right, guys, thanks for watching. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you all tomorrow at noon.
Talk to y'all later.
All right, peace.